Anne's point in life, and that the quality that really sticks out with her, is when we're dealing with a problem, and again, my interaction with her is in the context of the domestic violence partnership. When someone says, I can't do that, when the system says, I can't do that, her question is, what's the challenge? Not why not, or come on, or you're not trying that hard enough. Anne always asks the question, what's the challenge that causes you to not be able to do that? Help me understand.
She's a marvelous example for all of us of striving, well, in her case, for justice.
Anne brings to her job an enthusiasm that's continued for 30+ years, and a true belief that what legal services does can make a positive change on people's lives.
I got an interview with legal aid when I was in law school, and I had never heard about legal aid, and I just took an interview because I was taking any interview I could get. And I heard about what they did, and they told me, you'll see a lot of clients. That's all we do is see clients. And after that, the only job I ever applied for was a legal aid job. I fell in love with it.
Many years ago, when I served on the board for, at that time it was called the Women's Shelter. That's the first time I became familiar with Anne Cofell. And serving on the board, I was a bit overwhelmed with the seriousness of battered women. And quite honestly, I found it a bit overwhelming. And it was Anne Cofell who looked at the bigger picture and said, we need to care for the battered victim, but also the batter. We need to look into why this is happening to break the cycle. And then work with the police department so that by the time we go to court, we're all on the same path.
When we formed the domestic violence partnership, we literally took apart the criminal justice system from the time the call comes into dispatch all the way until the end of probation or possibly a prison sentence. And by taking that apart and looking at each step of the way, Anne was a critical factor in helping us understand how victims saw that and how the legal system could actually be part of the problem versus part of the solution for families experiencing domestic violence.
While I was sitting at that first meeting, people were saying it's so frustrating. Victims don't come back. They make the report and then we have trouble getting them to come to court to testify. And I said, well, of course they don't come. If the abuser is out of the household, they lose his income, so they're wondering how they're going to pay the rent. If they report, the entire family may be angry with her, so it's not safe to report. I talked about the need for child support, about dealing with landlords. I talked about what if he cuts her cell phone off? How's she going to keep track of her kids? Sometimes he needs, he was the one who did the daycare providing for her so she could keep her job. So we talked about that and lights started going off, that it really isn't only about holding an offender accountable, it's also empowering the victim. And it's just become an amazing partnership of each person using their own role and their own skills to serve the common goal of ending violence in the community.
Anne has never been afraid to come to the table to talk about issues, to offer her ideas on possible solutions to those issues, to work together with other agencies so that it wasn't just about legal services, but it was about a bigger picture where we could make a difference if 4 or 5 different agencies work together. She's never been one to toot her own horn. She's always pointing at other people and saying, you really made a positive difference. And just through her actions, she has made a positive difference.
She's helped us to understand, and us being members of the criminal justice system, law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, even victim advocates, that what's really going on in these families is so much bigger than what we see. And by giving that a voice, and a credible voice, someone who has talked with these women about what's really going on in their lives, someone who's experienced what's going on with these kids and how their lives can be changed when there's meaningful intervention here. What she does for the health of the community is give people who were heard but not really understood a voice and a meaningful voice for the first time, and that's changed the entire criminal justice response to domestic violence in this community and beyond.
Because of what she's done for people in this community over the past 30+ years, truly has made a difference. And I think it's made a difference in a lot of agencies, nonprofit agencies that work to see what she's been able to accomplish, but also in the community as a whole.
What I learned is that there's so many people in this community who care about one another. So when I started my career, I wasn't on boards, and I wasn't out in the community. I talked to legal aid, I talked to lawyers, and sometimes I felt kind of alone. You see all these problems that people are having, struggling to make it, really trying to be good parents and not having resources sometimes to do that, trying hard to make sure their kids have a good start in school, and really struggling to make it. And I felt alone. Then I got on the Anna Marie's board, and there are all kinds of people in the community who care about that issue, who give their time, who donate money, who work hard to come up with innovative solutions to meet community needs. So what I took from that is this is a wonderful community, and none of us are alone.